Live from a green screen studio in Austin, it's Adults Are Talking with Andrew Heaton. Coming up, a little sketch comedy, Heaton talks to puppets, and an interview with Batya Ungar-Sargon. It's Adults Are Talking with Andrew Heaton.
Hello. Welcome to Adults Are Talking with Andrew Heaton. We've got a great show for you tonight. You're a great audience. What's your problem? Maybe perk up? Okay, anyway. Hey, fun stuff. We're gonna do a sketch about marital bliss. We've got some stuff about price controls and lactate. And lost footage from PAW Patrol the movie. We're gonna play Red Light, Green Light with Batya Ungar-Sargon. Great show. Great show.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
I am so excited to be joining you for the big PAW Patrol movie.
Yeah.
I have been a fan for so many years, so this really is a dream come true.
Well, we're really excited to be working with you too, Shelley.
And we appreciate you stepping up last minute. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Before we get started, I did do some last minute edits, so look over that. And as a reminder, this is the scene before the big finale, okay?
You got it, Shelley.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah, this one's for Shelley.
The 10-year-old boy Ryder turns to Chase the police dog and Marshall the firefighting dog.
Pups, we've got a crisis. The big storm is almost here and we need to reinforce the dam to keep Adventure Bay safe.
Sorry, Ryder, I'm out. Chase is off the case.
But why, Chase?
It's time for this police pup to retire. I've been a member of PAW Patrol for almost 3 years. That's 21 in dog years, woof woof.
But that's going to endanger all of Adventure Bay.
That's just too rough for them.
Hold on, Shelley, are we saying Chase is retiring during an emergency?
We're going for a more realistic angle on this one.
Huh, it just feels a little political.
Yeah, wee bit.
Okay, back in it.
You've been working so hard, Chase. I can see why you'd need a break.
Actually, no, that's not the reason. I've been working so hard because my police pension's calculated based on my final year of employment. So I clocked a whole lot of unnecessary overtime for the last dog year for when I retire at 55, which is the average age real-life police officers retire at in real life.
Hey guys, it looks like the flood is headed toward the school. Marshall, can you lead the kids to safety?
You got it, Ryder. But first, without overtime, how can firefighters take advantage of this system?
Great question, buddy. Just let whoever's about to retire become precinct captain their final year on the force. That way everybody can tap out at the highest possible salary and really juice their pension.
Hey, Shelley, it feels like this episode is really focused on pensions.
Yeah, our demographic is 5-year-olds.
It kind of feels like you edited the script to be like anti-pension propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay, look, you can just make anything political if you try really hard. Back in it.
Oh no, there's been a cholera outbreak or some shit in Breakwater Bay. So
Hey, Shelley, are cholera outbreaks still a thing?
Are we going to say some shit?
I'd prefer not.
I would prefer not to say some shit. Also, it's Adventure Bay. It's in the script earlier. We said it earlier. Oh, I'll keep going.
Well, there's a beach chair somewhere with my name on it. I'm off to enjoy a 6-figure pension which is insulated from the ups and downs of the stock market. Skiddly-doo!
Which is not my catchphrase.
Now that he's retired, that makes me the precinct captain.
Hooray, Marshall! What's the plan?
Well, now that I'm captain, I'll head back to the firehouse and safely dispatch the orders to the remaining team. Pup, and away!
But I'm the remaining team. The dam bursts and Ryder aggressively drowns in the water, eyes open, gasping for breath. What the hell? You wrote me off the show?
Okay, look. You weren't selling enough plushies and it's all about the merchandise.
Yeah.
It's a kid's show.
That sells plushies, Dave.
But it has to be appropriate for kids.
Hey, don't fuck with my plushie money, man!
Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Watch PAW Patrol the movie today.
Sponsored by the Police Unions of America.
Radical.
Extra, extra, read all about it. It's Adults Are Newsing. Hello,
My producer asked me to write a script about price controls, but instead I went cow tipping. Boop. And so I've mostly been thinking about cows today, but I think I can actually bring these things together. Okay. If you're like most Americans, you live in constant white-knuckled terror of natural disasters like volcanoes, locust swarms, or orca attacks.
Just take it! Take it!
When they occur, supply chains get startled and hide, like rabbits, which leads to shortages in things we want, such as gasoline, adult magazines, and milk. As prices skyrocket, officials often step in and institute price controls. We all know what causes natural disaster. Sin. When the National Sin Index sits comfortably between 2 and 4 on the Falwell scale, everything's fine. You want to be above a 1 or God gets bored, forgets to water the crops, but if you go above 8, you trigger Ragnarok, so everybody calm down. But when the sin gets above 4.2, God punishes our depraved nation with hurricanes and meteor strikes. What people don't know is that price controls are not an effective way to deal with shortages. Price controls work like this. A sin-laden town is punished by God with meteor impacts. The falling sky rocks kill the cows. There is a milk shortage. Milk prices skyrocket. To compensate, the mayor puts price controls on milk. If the mayor says, you can only sell a pound of milk for $1, anything above that is illegal, it's basically the same thing as saying, I think it's too hot outside, so I am outlawing thermometers. The mayor can outlaw sales, but he can't alter the law of supply and demand through fiat, because the law of supply and demand is more like a law of physics, such as gravity, than a city council regulation, like no leaf burning. When the mayor institutes a price control, he is saying, I want there to be so much milk abundance that the price of milk drops. Well, we all do, but that's not what the mayor is doing. The mayor can't snap his fingers and order all the cows to sprout extra nipples, or snap his fingers and make everybody want nipples less. Now, you might say, that is not the issue. I understand there's not enough milk to go around, everybody does. The issue is when people are reeling from a mudslide or a Justin Bieber concert or Nickelback, whatever you people hate now. It's exploitative to try to take advantage of them and rip them off with $15 milk. That is kicking people when they're down, and it should be against the law. Okay, let's play this out. Let's say meteors have killed off and flattened most of the town's livestock, and milk prices have increased. So the mayor outlaws price gouging on milk. You can only sell milk for $1 shilling a pound. There's still not enough milk to go around, and the few dairy farmers in operation can only sell what they have at normal prices. So whoever shows up in line knows there's a milk shortage, and because it's kept artificially cheap, they'll snap up all the milk they can get. They buy 10 gallons of it. The mayor has actually made the problem worse. Now there's not enough milk, and it's being hoarded by a handful of buyers. Very likely, a black market for milk will develop. Even though it's technically illegal to sell milk for 10 shillings a gallon or whatever I said, farmers know they can do it and make a lot of money, and so they do. In seedy back alley milk stables. I have seen it 1,000 times. In which case, the mayor hasn't done anything other than pushing otherwise honest, hardworking milkmen that form the backbone of the American economy into the degenerate underbelly of the lactose criminal underworld. And a lot of dead bodies from when dealers invariably cut the milk with fentanyl. Conversely, let's say the mayor does not try to fix the problem with price controls. The mayor realizes that prices are just a reflection of supply and demand, and price controls won't make people less thirsty or make cow nipples more milkful. In this scenario, prices accurately reflect that relationship, and the price of milk soars to $20 a pint. With milk prices so high, farmers in other counties are willing to drive an hour or two to hawk their extra milk at those insane prices. Now, rather than having no milk at an imaginary low price, we have a lot of milk at an accurately high price. Meanwhile, with the price of milk so high, the local economy is incentivized to start producing milk. A beef rancher buys up dairy cows instead of beef seeds at the next cattle lotto. The local golf course magnate realizes he can get a better return on milk than golf, so he starts grazing dairy cows in between his fiberglass mini-golf obstacles. And the Texan landman who was going to put in an oil well starts drilling for milk deposits instead. The mayor has never been able to alter the real price, the relationship of supply and demand. But when he allows the information that price reflects to work, it's a signal flare to the market to bring in extra milk from other places and to make more milk locally. So you have two options. Option one, you recognize that you cannot lower the temperature by banning thermometers, and you can't solve for high demand by banning high prices. In this scenario, there is a lamentable milk shortage, but market forces bring in milk from outside and encourage recovery from within. Milk costs more, but you can get it if you want it, and the system recovers faster. Option two, you try to solve for high milk demand by banning high prices. Milk is cheap, but there's none of it, so it doesn't matter. Very likely, a handful of people hoard whatever milk trickles in. And the recovery process takes much, much longer for milk. Well, I've explained the hell out of that. Think I'll celebrate with a glass of milk. Thank you. Now, if you'll excuse me, those leaves aren't going to burn themselves. Or my neighbor's yard.
Honey, I'm home.
Why, Abe, what are those for?
These are for you. Happy anniversary. I would not have forgotten, darling.
Of course not. The roast will be ready in a half an hour. Maybe in the meantime, we can use that fancy video equipment of yours and watch our wedding tape?
I think that's a great idea, sweetheart. Let's go watch our nuptials.
Yes.
Okay, you ready to watch the beginning of our adventure?
Yes,
All right.
of course.
I love you.
I love you too.
Oh, and you look so beautiful in that dress.
I bet you still fit in that tux.
Maybe the top half.
What the hell? Abraham Zapruder, did you record over our wedding video?
Apparently.
How could you?
It's the Kennedy assassination, Lillian. It's historic.
You didn't know he was going to be assassinated?
Well, maybe I had a hunch.
Bullshit! As far as you knew, this was a goddamn parade. You recorded over our wedding video for a stupid parade!
All the reels look the same, especially if you have a couple of cocktails for breakfast. The valuable part's coming up. It's going to pivot over. It's going to pan over. There's going to be a CIA guy reloading his gun, and he high-fives a mafia don. The fuck? Lillian, did you record over the second gunman with Green Acres?
Well, all the reels look the same when you're on lithium.
Is it at least a good episode of Green Acres?
Absolutely! Oliver gives Lisa a talking horse. Probably the same actor as Mr. Ed.
I love Mr. Ed!
I know you do. That's why I recorded it.
Thank you!
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you too. Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary!
A talking horse.
My guest today is Batya Ungar-Sargon. She is an opinion editor at Newsweek and legally my friend. Hello, Batya.
Hello.
Here's what I was thinking. I don't think we see eye to eye on all economic stuff, but I like you.
Thank you.
I like you. So, like over the last 50 years, I think it's, about 50% of the global population's gone from like starvation level penury to coming out of that. So it seems to me that a market-based system with global trade has been beneficial to the planet as a whole. Would you agree with that?
You sound like a progressive.
Do I? Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
That's what the progressives say. We should have an open border because the global poor are so much poorer than the American poor, and don't we have a responsibility to them? I think that's nonsense. I mean, I think you should have a responsibility first to your family, then to your neighbor, then to your nation. And so to me, that progressive mindset of like, open borders, you have more of a responsibility to strangers halfway across the world than you do to the person who lives next to you because they disagree with you politically. They should, live so much worse than you, and you're going to welcome in these people and help them. I think that that's amoral.
Let's talk about my civ-like immigration policy here in a moment. But can we go back for a moment? Yeah. In terms of helping the world overall, do you think that like trade and markets have been beneficial? Like broadly speaking?
Yeah.
Okay.
We built up China's middle class, but I think that's terrible. terrible.
Really? Okay, I want
because they have a middle class now and we don't, and I'm mad about that.
And you think that it came at our expense?
Of course. We shipped off 5 million good manufacturing jobs to China.
I think that
we pulled out millions and millions of Chinese people out of poverty at the expense of our own working class. In terms of resources, in terms of GDP, the catch-22 here is that GDP overall in the aggregate in this country has risen over the last 50, 60 years, but the vast majority of that GDP is concentrated in the top 20%. So I don't really have a problem with billionaires. Like, the progressives love to rail against the 1%, but a lot of billionaires are jobs creators. So I don't really have a problem with Bezos. Like, this is a guy who's made like many, many jobs.
Hold on, green light, keep going.
I don't have a problem with that, you know? What I have a problem with is the progressives, the top 20% and 10% who are making, 10% more, 10 times what the average working class person is making. I have a problem with the college set who on average make $1 million more over the course of their career than a person without a college degree, acting like they are in class solidarity with the working class against the 1%, when the truth is that they are the ones who are hoarding the American dream.
Green light. I'm in agreement with you on a lot of this stuff.
They suck, right?
Real quick, I just want to clarify this. So you don't like the top 19 through 2%, but the top 1% you're okay with? So it's the billionaires can be job creators, like kind of because I would agree with you on that.
Let me give you a really funny example I think you're going to like. All right, Bernie Sanders hauled Howard Schultz in before a Senate committee hearing. Howard Schultz, the guy who started Starbucks. Yeah. Okay. So he's, berating him because he's been engaged in union busting, right? There are some Starbucks outlets that are, trying to unionize. He really doesn't want them to unionize. The benefits at Starbucks are already incredible. They'll pay for your full gender transition.
You work there like 6 months. They gender transition. They'll pay for your college, medical benefits for coffee.
Full benefits.
For coffee slingers. I'm very good to its workers, I think.
Yeah. Starting salary, $17 an hour, which is $2 above the minimum wage in New York, but also way above the industry standard. And it actually lifted up the industry baseline, right? So Sanders is sort of like berating Schultz, for, this union busting. And at some point, Schultz says to him, he's like, Senator Sanders, when you wrote your national minimum wage bill that you tried to, get passed through the Senate, you were asking for $15 an hour minimum wage. I'm already paying $17 an hour just because I wanted to. Like, what more do you want from me? And I think what was revealed to me in that moment was like, that's exactly the point. It's the progressives. It's meaningless to them if you give your workers good conditions, if you did it because you wanted to, if you didn't do it because they forced you to, right? That was kind of like what was revealed there. It's like Sanders was mad at him because he did it from his own free will, right? I'm against all that. I think that's nonsense.
I think like having watched Bernie Sanders for a while, I think his economic training was he watched Les Mis and went, got it, I got it. Poor people are poor because rich people are rich, done. And then that was it. So like if Howard Schultz is a billionaire, ipso facto, he's evil. Okay, yeah. I agree. Billionaires can create jobs, all that stuff. Like Bill Gates, for example, the estimates are he's probably netted about 2% of the economic value he's unlocked. So there are people that are increasing the overall pie. That's good. I think I agree with you on the college stuff. I think that universities in the United States, or the system that we've put into the country is, if you don't go to college, you're kind of a loser, and you deserve to be at the bottom of the pyramid. We don't really have this alternate thing of...
And you're against that, right?
I'm very much against
Green
that.
light.
In fact, I think, like, if I'm not mistaken, because you're a Marxist, are you not? Would you not? You've previously identified as such, or...
Yeah, I would call myself now like a Trump Marxist. Like, I'm a Marxist in the way that I think Trump was a Marxist.
You're a Trump... Okay. We're going to go back to immigration in a minute. We're going to go back to Trump Marx in a minute. Okay, to finish up the Marx and college thing, I think Marx, who I am not in the habit of quoting, said that if you were to have universal college tuition, it would be a subsidy to the upper class or to the bourgeoisie. And I think that he was right about that. I think that the university system has been perverted from being a dissemination of knowledge to being a credential factory and a privilege laundering thing, where you're able to go in and we go, okay, you're this forever. And the point of it's no longer disseminating knowledge and teaching skills. It's to give people a positional good. And in economics, a positional good is defined by this is worth something because somebody else doesn't have it, which means you can't universalize it. So,
What's the word for green light but you want it on steroids? Like I'm green light on steroids right now.
Should we just like neon that? Okay, good. We're in on this. I want to get to the Trump Marx thing in a minute because I really enjoy playing with strokes and I want to see what happens when we go there. With the immigration thing, real quick to go back. Where I'm at on that is I'm on a spectrum of double the amount of immigrants coming in to open borders, somewhere there, right? So I don't have any problem, or I'd say if you own a business, you can hire anybody you want for the business. I have no problem with that. If I can sponsor somebody or I could invite them to live at my house and other people are like, I don't want them in your house, I would be fine with that. But you would have a much more restrictive immigration position?
So of the 70, 80 working class people that I interviewed over the course of the year, I think only 2 of them did not want something close to a full moratorium on immigration, legal and illegal. It is simply a fact that when you have an open border and you have an unlimited supply of low-wage laborers, that is going to drive down, it's a simple supply and demand that's going to drive down the wages that the kinds of people who compete with those new immigrants for jobs are able to command. And in fact, one of the reasons that inflation has started to cool slightly right now is because President Biden allowed 6 million undocumented immigrants in and is now giving them work permits. And the working class knows this from looking at their bank accounts. They can see this. And one of the when we talk about how wages have stagnated over the last 60 years, when we talk about how since the 70s, wages and productivity have decoupled. So productivity and GDP and profits are going way up, and wages have essentially stagnated. A lot of people talk about automation. A lot of people talk about outsourcing. A lot of people talk about offshoring, globalization, trade. These are all pieces of the puzzle. But one of the biggest things that no one talks about is that starting in the early 70s until now, the percentage of the nation that is foreign-born went from 4% to 14%. And the vast majority of those who are employed in jobs that don't require a college degree. You have essentially imported millions and millions of people to compete for jobs with people who are not college educated. And when you bring this up to the progressives and when you bring this up to the people who support open borders, they call you racist for saying, they call you xenophobic. This is not about race, this is about economics.
A couple of things. So first of all, supply and demand. You agree this exists? You quoted
green
this
light.
Yes. Great, green light. This is half the economic arguments I get into are with people going, but this time it's very important, so supply and demand doesn't count. Like not you, but many people that I know will just be like, nope, we're suspending it by fiat. So fantastic, we're both in agreement that supply and demand exists. You said that the percentage of foreign-born workers has increased, and this has corresponded with lower wages. If we go back to 1860 to 1880, 1860 to 1900, it's a quarter of the people in the United States were foreign-born. 50% of the people in the United States, round about that, I don't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, had a foreign parent, and it also corresponded to the biggest economic growth in American history. So,
you know what we called that era? Huh? We called that era the Gilded Age, because it was the period of the most economic inequality in American history until today.
I'm okay with inequality. I don't like poverty.
We have to talk about that. Yeah.
Right.
No, but that's a really important distinction, right? Like if the economic inequality in this country was 90% of Americans were millionaires and 10% were billionaires, we would have as much economic inequality as they had in the Gilded Age, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. The question is, what is the baseline? The question is can full-time work of the kind of labor that you and I will never have to do, in terms of just physicality, in terms of just physical labor, can that purchase the hallmarks of a middle-class life? And the answer today is decidedly no if you don't have a college degree. And that is unfair.
50% agree with you so far on a lot of things here. It does sound like we'd have a definitive difference in terms of immigration. I would open it up more. You would restrict it more.
You have to respond to the things I said.
There's a lot of things there. Can you give me a prompt? Which one do you want?
Yeah.
Wages, for example. Let's go back to wages now. Okay, so I hear this all the time that wages have paused in the United States. The cost of consumer goods has dropped precipitously over the last 50 years. If you look at an automobile, the cheapest automobile today is safer and more reliable than the most expensive car from 50 years ago. So a lot of the things that we're purchasing that are non-negotiable have dropped. The purchasing power has increased of the average consumer in the United States, including the working class. When you look at the quote-unquote wage stagnation, I see 2 phenomena that are at work. One, we tend to talk about people as if they are a caste system, but you don't earn the same amount of money over the course of your life. So like the job that you're doing when you're 16 years old and an entry-level job is going to be different, or excuse me, your income's going to be different at 50 than when you're 16. It would be like looking at kindergartners every year and going, the kindergartners are the exact same height this year that they were 5 years ago. Well, they're not the same kindergartners. We're looking at sectors of the economy that people are moving through. So I think that should be factored into it. And then the other bit, and I don't have a firm command of the statistics here, but when we're talking about wages for the corporate perspective, we're also looking at benefits, 401k, and medical benefits, and those have risen. So if the wages are the same, but your 401k's increased or your benefits have increased, the overall amount of good you're getting from the company has increased. And I don't think people realize that a lot of the time.
Well, so on the 401k, the vast majority of Americans don't have one. They have no retirement.
Conceded, yeah.
And they have no retirement savings, right? So sure, I mean, people in the top 10%, 20% probably have a bigger 401k than they did, but that's the argument I'm making. That's the problem, right? So that's the 401k. The medical benefits, they're paying more in benefits, so they're taking more out of workers' salaries, but what they're able to buy from that, again, it's kind of like housing. It's nowhere near the cost of comprehensive healthcare, because healthcare, and I'm sure you would agree with me on this, I mean, it's become prohibitively expensive. Just absolutely prohibitively expensive.
Let's talk about how we would deal with this. Yeah. I look at housing, and we've developed an economic system where we've said the principal means to achieve middle-class stability and multi-generational wealth transfer is to own your own home. And what we're going to do is everything we possibly can to make the value of your house increase. And then everybody's amazed when we design an entire economic system to make your house as valuable as possible, that has translated into higher housing costs, which to me is brazenly obvious. If you want to have houses worth more, houses are going to cost more. And we've designed the system to do that. We've artificially goosed the system to do that. We do it through minimum lot sizes, through obsessive zoning, through a regulatory agenda designed to limit the amount, the supply of houses, which drives up the demand. So what I would do is drastically deregulate the housing market, not in terms of basic safety issues or negative externalities, but in terms of minimum lot sizes, zoning, things like that, to try and increase supply. What do you think?
Neon.
Yeah?
Neon light, yes.
Okay. Oh, great.
They're both the right and the left are wrong on housing, but you are right on housing.
Thank you.
So the left wants to increase like vouchers for Section 8 housing. They want to increase public housing. They want to increase affordable housing. None of this will actually bring down the price. It will simply mean that there are more units that are being subsidized by the government. It will keep the price exactly where it is, because the people who can afford it will simply be offering more for each of these. Yeah.
We disagree on immigration. We agree on housing. I think we agree on college or university. The system's kind of a pyramid scheme to a great extent.
Totally.
Medicine, that's such a huge issue. I think we both agree the current system is not good, that we would do something else. Are there any other concrete policy things you would do in order to try and help people in the working class? Or how about, I'm sure there's many. Rattle off a couple that you think would help. So these people that you're talking about that aren't able to get the basic things you're talking about, housing, medicine, retirement, things like that. What are, because on my end, I would first and foremost, do no harm, remove harmful regulations that are artificially ruining the system for people. That's the first thing I would go to. And then I'd probably have UBI on the back end or something like that. What would you do?
I'm so against UBI.
You're against UBI?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what would you? Okay. Why? How
Neon
come?
red.
Here's this would be my ideal social safety net system. Mm-hmm. Is I want to have a big, sloppy, chaotic market mess in the middle, like a really big, robust, chaotic mess. I want the government regulatory state to be very minimal on the back end in dealing with safety and negative externalities. So if we want to have the city go, every skyscraper has to have fire escapes, I'm fine with that. If we want to go, every room has to have X amount of light because we've determined that, no, that's too much. Like keep it very, very low. And then rather than having 40 different agencies that all pass out different, you've got to fill out paper and then we give you food stamps and things like that. I would have everybody has 5% of their taxes go into one big pot and we just pass everybody out in America a check. That way we're all kind of getting a part of that commonwealth. What do you think?
I don't like universal basic income because I think that it's kind of it's anathema to the idea of like being rewarded for hard work. Like the problem with the system is that the people who work the hardest, who we rely on the most, it's not that they're not like rich, it's that their extremely modest desires to just be able to live in dignity while working have been, basically we have put the kibosh on that. Like we have, and in the elites have made that an impossibility for them.
I work hard, I should get traction in the economy, which we both agree with. Do you think the principal villain here is outsourcing of jobs? Would you have like a price control board dictate what the wages are of everybody in a given industry? Like how would you, what is the either impediment you would remove or program you would instate in order to actualize this connection between work and money?
I would get rid of China's preferred trade status. I think China's trying to destroy us, and they're doing a really good job of it, both like socially and economically, and in terms of like national security. So I would completely decouple from China immediately. And
wait, like no trade whatsoever?
I think Trump's idea that there would be an automatic 10% tariff on all foreign imports is a really good idea. And the fact that your reaction is the same as the entire expert class, like to me and to working people, that's a big tell that it's a good idea. Like the expert class
am I
is
the
like,
elite now?
Well,
I know I dress like it, but am I now officially the elite?
You're very identified with the bipartisan elite on a whole bunch of issues.
I'm trying to
primarily
get into their
economics
clubs.
and trade.
Would you put in a good word for me next time you're arguing with them?
How do they hate me?
Wait,
can I don't get invited anywhere.
Wait, hold on. Before I completely lose track of something, because we're getting questions in the comments. You referred to like Trump Marxism or something like that. Can you please elaborate on that? Because a bunch of people's heads are about to explode, and I would love to facilitate this.
Trump's entire economic agenda was class warfare against the people that we hate. I mean, the whole thing was class warfare against the elites, against the expert class. His entire foreign policy was warfare against the like foreign policy expert class. I mean, he was waging class warfare on behalf of the working class. That is how they see it. That is how I see it. And I think everything from his, basically essentially closing the border and getting illegal immigration down to a minuscule amount, negligible amount, getting rid of NAFTA, renegotiating the trade deal. I mean, I wish he had just completely gotten rid of it, but he was on his way to do that. The trade war with China, the tariffs on aluminum and steel. I mean, this is all like incredibly important stuff that when you talk to working class people, they will list this stuff off as ways in which he put money back in their pocket. I mean, that to me is what he waged class warfare on behalf of the working class. What could be more Marxist than that?
You've made me think very hard.
Oh, yeah.
And I resent that. But I always enjoy hanging out with you. Where can people find you? Like you've got a lot of stuff going on.
You mean like my address?
Yes, exactly. Matt told me I'm not allowed to post those anymore, but hit me up and I'll let you know where she lives. No, I mean like if you wanted to point, like Twitter, YouTube, where do you want to point people?
I certainly don't want people going on Twitter. I am on Twitter, but don't go to Twitter. Don't spend any time there.
You know what? You got a book. You want to point people towards that?
Oh, right, I have a book. I wrote a book called Bad News: How Woke Media is Undermining Democracy, and I have another book coming out in April, which is called Second Class. Something along the lines of the working class struggle for the American dream. We're still working on the title. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Thank you for coming back. Green light, mostly green lights. Yeah.
Hey kids! Adults are talking to puppets. This week, price controls.
Hello and welcome to Adults Are Talking to Puppets.
Yeah, man, I don't want to be here either, okay?
Well, the feeling is mutual. Anyway, nobody likes natural disasters. I certainly don't. But in their wake, it's worth pointing out that when the government institutes price controls, they actually prolong the situation.
Fargo Bargo! This is gonna be good.
Thank you, Tutti Frutti Franklin. All right, in any event, there's a problem with supply lines, and a well-meaning but misinformed government institutes anti-gouging laws and price caps. Do you know what happens?
Toilet paper prices stay the same.
Exactly. Demand for toilet paper is up, and sellers want to charge more, but they can't because of government fiat.
Good!
No, it's not good, Franklin.
How is that not good? It's literally keeping profiteers off my ass.
You know, talk like that is what got you canceled from a children's show. Why you're here now.
No shit, dude.
All right. Free markets, right? An entrepreneur sees your need and works to meet your need and makes a buck off of it, which is fine. Everybody's needs are met, unfettered by government interference.
Everyone's needs met. Awesome. So, how's the dating scene?
Could be better.
You think it could be a free market thing?
I don't really know how it would be. How so?
Like, maybe an entrepreneurial libertarian wonderkin such as yourself has dramatically miscalculated the free market's demand for guys who won't shut the fuck up about price controls. So, hypothetically, after dessert, your date decides by fiat to hightail it out of Olive Garden, leaving you to go home alone in a surge-priced Uber so you can crawl into bed alone and weep into your price-gouged Charmin as you realize that you've dramatically capped the number of women willing to let you touch their Friedmans and gouge their Keens.
It's pronounced Canes.
And that's why you'll always be alone. You'd rather be right than happy.
Jesus.
Flargle bargle.
Fuck you, puppet! Fuck you! Fuck you! Stay the fuck away!
That's it. Last time I bring on a guest that overshadows me. God. But otherwise good, right? Think about the puppet. Yeah. All right, well, come back and drive safe, particularly if you're watching this on an iPad. Good night.
That was great. I think she bought it.
She might actually be the real libertarian.
This is literally the best day of my life.
The kid in the show going,
They made a plushie of that.
Yeah.
Why? Stay away!